All right, guys, welcome back to another lesson from Algebra 1, lesson 115. So after today's lesson, after we're done today, we will have 5 more lessons to go. Yes! And to be honest with you, these are the last lessons I'm recording, so I'm super excited to get over this. And so today's lesson is going to be graphing cubic functions. It should be pretty easy. We're going to do the same thing that we usually do. I'm going to teach you how to do it. We're going to do it with the table. That's the easiest way to do it. So we do the table, then we're going to actually graph it by hand, and then we're going to move on to our handy-dandy calculator. This is why it's so important to have it. And so most of the lessons that we have from now on, you have to have the calculator. So you do understand that this is a very necessary and useful tool. And this is one of the reasons that I was a little bit worried that you guys were borrowing or sharing calculators among students in the school, because you just need it. It's so important. So yeah, anyway, let's get into the lesson. Yay. Okay, so I know there's a glare monster in there, but yeah, what am I going to do about it? I'm working with what I have. As you know. So in here, I drew a linear equation that everybody should know. It's just a straight line. I think this marker is better than the one I used before too. So this is a straight line, a linear equation. A quadratic obviously is a parabola, and this is just generic, okay? This doesn't necessarily mean that all graphs are going to look like this. We know that all linear graphs don't look like this. It could be different ones, but it's a line. This one is a parabola. It could be opening upwards, it could be opening downwards, and then we have this one, which is something that I wanted you to see really quickly before we get into it, because it has 2 points of inflection, or 2 points where it turns around. And you see the quadratic has 1, and then the linear has 1. And it's so weird because the linear obviously has an x, the quadratic has a quadratic term, which is x squared, and then the cubic has a cubic term, which is x cubed. And so one of the things that you're going to learn to do as you move on to polynomial functions is that you will definitely be able to recognize a graph by the point of inflections that it has. If it has 1 point of inflection, it's going to be quadratic. Right? Quadratic function. But if it has 2 points of inflection, it's going to be a cubic function. And so even though it is raised to the 3rd exponent, and it has the 3rd exponent, the 3rd power, it actually only has 2 points of inflection. And in here, even though it's raised to the squared, or raised to the 2nd power, it only has 1 point of inflection. And this one, who is not raised to anything, it has 0. So it's just going to be something like that. So it's a pattern that you should be looking out for. But let's actually look into the first example, which is going to be super easy, as you'll see. All right, guys, so the first example, right? So we have y equals x cubed, and we have y equals negative x cubed. And so I already set up most of the problem. We're going to start with -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. I'm not going to do 3 because 3 cubed is already 27, and I only did 8. I just put the 3 there for reference so that everybody understands. So the first one is -2. If I put it here, -2 cubed is going to be -8. All right? Because it's not squared, all right? Remember that. -2 times -2 is going to be +4, and +4 times -2 is going to be -8. All right, so remember that. Then we have -1, then we have 0, then we have 1, then we have 8, right? So our points are -2, 8. -2, 8 is -2, -8, sorry. Totally forgot to put the negatives here. All right, -2... -8. Then we have 1, -1, -1, -1, I mean. Then we have 0, 0. Then we have 1, 1. And then we have 2, 8, which is about right there. All right, and so my graph is going to look something like this. It's going to start coming right here. Zone. It's going to dip and turn. Now, the points of inflection are really small and around there. But this is what the parent function for a cubic function looks like, all right? So you have to look at the little points of inflection, and they're really small in this one, but you have to know what they are. And in here, if we do -2, -1, 0, 1, 2 because it's going to be negative, right? So negative 2 cubed is going to be negative 8, but negative 8 is going to be positive 8 because negative and negative is positive, so it's 8. Then we have 1, 0, then we have negative 1, then we have negative 8. So this one is going to be flipped to how it looks over there. So the negative 2 is going to be, well, let's start with negative 2, 8. Negative 1, 1. 0, 0. 1, negative 1. And 2, negative 8. And then it would look like that. So as I told you, it's not that hard. You just need to know the shape because a lot of people will do the table and don't know how to graph it. So once you already know how to graph it, let's actually move on to the calculator. And so before we move to the calculator, I had to write down a couple of ideas for bonus because I keep forgetting. So I had a couple bonus here. And so I'm going to start with this one. I'm going to go with the people that comment down below what your favorite movie is. First 5 people will get bonus points, 3 bonus points. And then if you actually come later and the 5 comments are already filled, which has never really happened I think it happened once maybe in Algebra 1. Yeah, so if you come in and it's a little bit later, you can actually have bonus points, and your bonus question is going to be, what's your favorite snack? All right, so you just have to tell me what your favorite snack is. It doesn't matter what it is. So the first 3 people that put it in Google Classroom would get 2 points. Okay, so after the 5 people on YouTube, 3 people in Google Classroom, and that's it. This is the only class that never really filled out anything. I mean, it just goes to show, and I know the people that are not watching, it's just so obvious. So obvious, the people that are not watching. But yeah, so let's get into the calculator part, which is example 2 and on. All right, for example number 2, what we're going to do is we're going to be solving the equations by graphing. And solving, obviously, you should know by now, because that's what we do with the quadratic functions, is to find the zeros or the roots. And so if you look at this graph right here, it seems that it only crosses the x-axis once, so we need to find what it is. So again, we're going to use this right here, x cubed minus 1, and we're going to graph it. And so I'll put it into my graphing calculator, and then I graph it. It looks exactly like that. And then we go to second trace, which is calc, and we're going to put the 0. Where's the 0? So then we're going to put the left bound is here, and then the right bound is here, and then we're going to find that the x is about 1. And that's what it says, is about 1. X is about 1. So that's all you need to know. And this is why I'm going to tell you to do it in a calculator, because it's just graphing. You already should know how to graph by hand just by doing the table. That's the only way we taught you how to. So now we can move on. And so in example 2b, or not to be, that is the question. Yeah, don't worry about all this jazz right here. What he was doing was just clearing the 2 from there. So you just have to subtract 2 from all the sides, right? So in here, you're going to subtract it so that it becomes negative 2x cubed minus 9. Look at that. Yeah, don't worry about Professor Tubman's handwriting. By the way, that's Professor Tubman's handwriting, for those of you who didn't know. Sometimes it's useful, most time it isn't, because it can be quite confusing. So we have that 2x cubed minus 9, right? Because that's what we got here. 0 equals negative 2x cubed minus 9, right? And so I put that in my graphing calculator, and I'm going to graph. All right, so let's just graph. You see, it only has one solution, meaning 1 0, or 1 root. And so we're going to go and do the same thing. Second trace, 0. Left bound, nope, we have to go to the left of it. And then right bound, right there, boop. And so it's going to be about negative 1.65. Negative 1.65. In here they say that it's about negative 1.7. You see, the about negative 1.7, which is the rounding of negative 6.5. And that's why I didn't want to do this on the board, because it's so much easier to do in the calculator with steps that you should already know. So let's actually move on to example number 3. Okay, and so in example number 3, we had negative 2x squared equals 1/2 x cubed minus 1, right? Obviously, you can't have it like this, so you have to move the negative 2x to the other side, and in here, they give you what it would be. 0 equals 1/2 x cubed plus 2x squared minus 1. Why? Because we just added the 2x squared on both sides, and that's how we got it. So here I have entered it in my calculator. As you can see, 1/2 x cubed plus 2x squared minus 1, just like it says right here. Let me just let you focus on this, because when I put this, the camera focuses on something else. Then I'm going to put graph. Hopefully a graph is there. Oh yeah. Look at that. It has how many zeros? It has 3 zeros, 3 solutions. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to again find the zeros, which is a lot easier. I know in here it says to use trace, but don't do that. That's just like a lot harder. And then it says then use the intersect, but it's not. It's finding the zero. So again, we're going to find the first zero all the way to the left. Left bound is going to be to the left of it. Right bound is going to be to the right of it. And we press enter. And this would be about negative 3.86. Oh, sorry. It wasn't even showing you. Negative 3.866198. In here, they say it's about negative 3.87, which is rounding up to the second decimal. So that's right. Then we do it again, right? We go to second trace. I press it again. 0. Then we go all the way to the left of my second 0 or solution, or the root, however you want to call it, interchangeable terms. And we get negative 0.789244, or I will say that your book probably says negative 0.79. Sometimes they actually even like to push that number into negative 0.8. No, they just put negative 0.79, which is what I got. And then finally, the last thing that we have to do in this lesson to be done with it, and only have 5 more lessons to go, hooray, is to the right, I mean to the left, sorry, to the right. Press enter, and we get 0.655. So I would say 0.66. Yep, that's what your book has. And if you don't believe me, I'll show you right here. But move the camera just a little bit. It has negative 3.87, which is the first one I got. Negative 0.79, that's what I got. 0.66, and that's what it is. All right, so I'll see you guys in the next one. 5 more lessons to go. Yahoo!